What is going on, everyone? How's life treating you? I thought we'd do a requested video today. I did a video about the states with the highest percentage of residents on food stamps back a little over a month ago. Since that day, I've gotten a buttload of emails asking me what cities have the most. The majority of those requests were from people that apparently thought I was being biased towards one end of the political spectrum because I ranked 8 of the 10 being Republican-controlled states. The thing is this, I didn't rank them. The U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics did. They're the ones that gathered all the stats, not me. In my opinion, things like that aren't a Democrat or Republican thing. It's an American thing. We're all in this together, no matter what the politicians want you to believe. 15 million households in the United States are considered food insecure. Almost 45 million Americans rely on some sort of help from a government agency to eat. Programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, are in place so Americans don't go hungry. SNAP began as a temporary relief program during the Great Depression and became a permanent fixture in 1964 under President Lyndon Johnson. Some people think making this a permanent thing was a costly mistake to taxpayers. I don't think so. Again, we're all in this together. If you're one of those taxpayers that wants to know what city's getting the most of those tax dollars, this list is for you. We're going to list the ones that have the highest percentage of their population on food stamps. Let's see who starts out the list. Number 10, Sumter, South Carolina. Have you ever heard of Sumter? Me either. But it looks like the people at the SNAP office know exactly where this place is. That's because 22.5% of their 40,000 residents are on SNAP. Incorporated as Sumterville in 1845, the city's name was shortened to Sumter in 1855. I guess the Ville part didn't make it sound as classy as they wanted it to. Sumter is home to Shaw Air Force Base, and that's the headquarters of the United States Air Force Central Command. It's also home to some dude that was convicted of treason in World War II, Robert Henry Best. He was a broadcaster, went over there during the war, or actually before the war, and ended up getting hooked up with the Nazis doing propaganda for him. And when the Nazis, Germany lost the war, they handed him over to us. He died in prison. They have 22% of the population living under the poverty line in Sumter. The good news is you can get a livable house in this place for under $150,000, and it looks like the prices will be dropping. They look to be losing about 3% of their population in the 2020 census. Number 9, Longview, Washington. Not too far away from Portland, Oregon, and across the Columbia River, you have Longview, Washington. During the opioid days here in Portland, it had a reputation of being the place to go when you needed pills. These days, the reputation is more like it's a place where all the residents wait around for their government check and then hang out around payday loan places. And it's really too bad. Longview is a great location. It sits right on the Columbia River, and it's a little under an hour away from Portland, Oregon on a good day. In 2019, they had just under 6% unemployment, and 17% of Longview's population live below the poverty line. Just about 23% of Longview's population is on food stamps right now. And like I said, it's too bad because this has the potential to be a great little city. Number 8, Visalia, California. Have you ever heard those plans that people want to push where they split a state in 2 or maybe even 3? Every few years, a group of people in a state that don't like what's going on in their state and can't seem to win an election decide they want to try and split the state in 2 so they can have their own state to make their own rules. You know that mentality, if I can't win, I don't want to play anymore, I'm going to take my ball and go home? In my life, I think California has floated this idea about 4 times. It'll never happen. There's a better chance of the 8-track tape making a comeback. It's never going to happen, but they try every once in a while. It gets in the news, then it just fades away. The thing is about California, I think most California would be okay with this part breaking off. The whole Visalia, Porterville, Fresno, it serves no real purpose other than giving California a worse reputation than it already has. 23% of the residents in the Visalia, Porterville area are on SNAP, and they're rocking about an 8% unemployment rate. Yeah, 25% of the population in this area lives below the poverty line. A quarter of the people. It's crazy. Number 7, Brownsville, Texas. Have you ever wanted to live in an American city in a third world country at the same time? In Brownsville, that dream can become a reality. Brownsville sits on the border with Mexico, right on the Gulf, and it's not too far away from South Padre Island. The good news is the cost of living here is really low and the crime isn't terrible. You never see those two together. The downside is the unemployment is over 5% and 23.3% of the residents are on SNAP. But this is to be expected, seeing that almost 30% of the residents live below the poverty line. Now, this is a weird little town. You drive around and you think, oh no, I've crossed over the border into Mexico. This place is really run down. Then you go 2 blocks further and you think, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. I guess I didn't cross the border. And then you look and you go, oh, tacos. Let's eat tacos. They got really good tacos there. Number 6, Albany, Georgia. Albany, Georgia is one of those towns you never hear about unless someone is doing a list or a story about places you should never go to. Let me put it to you this way. These are things you should never do in regards to Albany, Georgia. Never visit, never entertain the thought of buying a home here, never rent a home here, never drive through, by, or near, never stop for gas, never think about Albany, Georgia after this list is done. There, you're safe. 24% of the residents here are on SNAP, and about 25% of the residents, so a quarter, live below the poverty line. If Albany, Georgia's crime scores were high school test scores, you'd be going to Harvard with a full ride. Number 5, Hammond, Louisiana. Hammond, Louisiana is about the same as Albany, Georgia, just a little bit worse with a higher cost of living. Hammond is home to Southern Louisiana University. Have you ever heard of this school? Me either. They are famous for, yeah, I got nothing. During the Civil War, Hammond was a shoemaking center for the Confederate States Army. The shoemaking industry was the work of Charles Emery Cate, who bought the land in 1860 for a home and a shoe factory. Towards the end of the war, Cate laid out the town's grid, using the rail line as a guide and naming several of the streets after his son. Also, Cate Street is named after him. Even though he supplied shoes to a failed war effort, those would be considered the good times in Hammond. It's been downhill ever since. But what do you expect from a town that was named after a Swedish sailor who was a fugitive from the British from escaping from a jail? Yeah, that's true. Nothing but bad luck comes from things like that. 24.6% of the residents receive SNAP benefits in Hammond. Number 4, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Rocky Mount, North Carolina is east of Raleigh, about an hour away. This is like the town that progress forgot. I know a stand-up comic from the area, I don't think it was actually from Rocky Mount, but he said in his act that there's only 3 types of people in Rocky Mount: those who can't afford to leave, those who can't leave because of parole, and people who have failed at so many things, this is where they end up. This town just might have more boarded up businesses than actual open ones. With an almost 6% unemployment rate, this kind of makes sense. Nobody has money to buy anything here, and 24.6% of them are on SNAP. Number 3, Grants Pass, Oregon. There's a reason everyone in Oregon refers to Grants Pass as Grants Ass. It sucks in so many ways, it's hard to give it anything but a universally known word for bad as a nickname. This is the only town I have ever seen that was graded D or D- across the board by Area Vibes. It sucks at everything statistically, but not terribly, just enough to make it bad. One bright spot is my friend Jinx. She has a YouTube channel called Oregon Family Adventure. I watch that all the time. I'll leave a link below. Besides the crime, drugs, and poverty, in Grants Pass, you have fire season and a serious housing shortage. If you talk to a real estate agent, they won't have much to offer you or show you. Fire season sucks, especially if you have asthma. Oh my god, it's brutal out there. 25.1% of the population is on SNAP in Grants Ass, Oregon. So enjoy! Number 2, Laredo, Texas. I haven't been to Laredo in about 20 years, and I can't believe it's still as bad as it is. Whenever I read anything about Laredo, it's negative. The people are great, don't get me wrong. Everything else sucks. I have some friends there, their whole family's there, and they'll be the first ones to tell you this city sucks. But then they turn around and say, but their family's there, so they have to stay, you know? So I appreciate that. But god, this place. I see stats on Laredo every so often, and I take a minute and wonder, why is it so bad? Then I go down that conspiracy rabbit hole and start looking at real estate developers in the area. I wonder if there's some organized thing where they're trying to keep the prices down by having bad stats everywhere, so they buy up all the land and chase all the locals out, you know? And then I wonder if it's a government thing and they're got aliens buried in the desert, or an explanation of why the last season of Game of Thrones was so disappointing. You know, real important stuff. Laredo has 34% of its population living under the poverty line, and 27% of their population is on SNAP. And number 1, the McAllen metro area, Texas. Now, this one's really strange. It's obviously the highest SNAP percentage in the country, and that's why it's number 1 on this list. The poverty rate is really high, but most of the other stats are great. Schools are good, cost of living is low, weather is nice, housing is a little bit better than average. Then you get to the crime. It's bad, but there are far worse cities in this country. The unemployment and poverty is what sinks McAllen. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, they had over 6% unemployment for most of 2019 and 31.5% poverty. Now, those are bad stats. And then team it up with 29.9% of their population is on SNAP or some other program. So that's pretty bad. 30%, 29.9, that's pretty much 30% McAllen. I can't believe how many Texas cities were on this list. I'm kind of shocked by that. Alright, so that is today's list. I hope you guys got some information out of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget all the links below. Buy a t-shirt. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.